You ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, welcome to the Providence City Administrative Land Use Authority. It is June 10th, about 3:08 PM. We are in the Providence City Office Building at 164 North Gateway Drive. We have Rob Stapley, I'm Scarlett Bankhead, and Max Pierce. Also in attendance, we have Ryan Snow, our city manager, Ty Cameron, our city recorder, Diane Campbell, our zoning specialist, Colton Love, our stormwater technician. We have two items on our agenda, and it looks like we have both of our applicants here. So we will start. Our first item is the minutes. We will consider the approval of the minutes from May 22nd, 2024. I didn't see any changes. Did either of you?
No, they looked good.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those then.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'll make a motion, we approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion by Rob Stapley, second by Max Pierce to approve. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voting was unanimous. The next item on our agenda, item number 2, is a final plat amendment. The Providence City Administrative Land Use Authority will consider for approval a request by Jody Robbins to amend the final plat for Providence Springs 55 plus cluster development located in the general area of 300 North, 100 East in Providence. Diane, do you want to come up and introduce this one?
Sure. This application was received May 6th. The petition seeks to increase the lot size of several lots by reducing the number of lots in the development from 32 to 30. Aaron Walker sent a review letter and that is dated June 7th. The codes that we use to be considered are Utah Code Title 10, Chapter 9, Part 6. Subdivisions gives the legislative body of a municipality authority to enact ordinances requiring that a subdivision plat comply with the provisions of the municipality's ordinances and provisions of Part 6. Providence City Code 241 establishes the Administrative Land Use Authority as the land use authority for all subdivisions. Conclusions of law, Providence City has enacted ordinances requiring that subdivision plat comply with the provisions of UCA 1096, and the proposed final plat is consistent with the general plan and development in surrounding areas. Conditions, the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence City rules, laws, codes, and ordinances. And approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated.
Jody, do you want to come up and you can either come to the podium and stand, or you can come to the table and sit, either one, because you can use the mic of both. Introduce yourself for the record.
For the record, I'm Jody Robbins. I'm the developer of the Providence Springs development. And the reason we're asking for this change is the people that have had interest in the development have had more interest in bigger homes than what we initially anticipated. So in order to fulfill that interest, we have 2 sets of 5 lots that we're combining into 2 sets of 4 lots, which makes the frontage on most of the, or the buildable area, instead of 45 feet wide, it makes it roughly 52 to 60 feet wide, depending on the lot, which allows us to put a 3rd car garage on the house. So that's why we're asking for the changes. With regard to the utilities that are in place, we're working around those, so we don't have driveways or anything going across the utilities that are in place. And fully understand that that's our responsibility if those need to be moved or anything, but at this point, the majority of those lots have people that are interested in them pending this approval, so
Okay, you got a copy of our staff report, right? The thing that Diane read when she sent you a copy of the agenda?
yes.
Do you have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, um. I do have a question, but this is one of these tricky things when, once it comes to us as an application, we can't really talk to each other except in a meeting. So my question to Max and Rob is, do you need some type of, construction drawings that show abandoning those two sets of services, or how do you want to handle that?
Where it's all private, I'm not real particular on
Okay,
necessarily having construction drawing drafted up by an engineer, but it's best form, good practice to properly abandon stuff that's never gonna get used, because it's gonna cause problems eventually, which I can attest to last week twice. So if you wanted to get with me or Public Works and come up with a plan on properly abandoning those, I think that would be wise.
I don't think we're actually abandoning any of them. Our lots were set up so that most of the utilities fed two lots. And now some of them will just feed one lot instead of two lots. I'm speaking of the electrical. We do have the sewer and water that, and we'll lose two connections on that sewer and water.
Those are the two that,
That
the
you're
water in
concerned.
particular, you're gonna end up with a leak there because nobody's gonna blue stick it, nobody's gonna remember it's there, and it's eventually gonna cause some kind of a water leak problem that's unnecessary. So
Okay,
if you get those properly abandoned ahead of time, it save a lot of people a lot of trouble later.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, even the sewer though, I mean, if it's got a clean out come to the surface. They can get broken off, filled with, dirt, rocks, whatever, and that can cause a sewer plug.
Well, they're not.
They're currently
clean
just
it yet,
stopped.
But there could be a bore crew or something come through and bore through it, and you'll never realize that there's a problem other than the groundwater infiltration going through your sewer system, which it's.
Yeah.
And it can plug up the other problems. Main line's getting lots of dirt and rocks in it. Cap them off as close as it can to their road or out in the road for that matter. It's highly, highly desired.
I understand.
anything else? That was my only question that I had.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. I don't think it requires any construction drawings, but. It would be nice to know which ones you do abandon
And get record of it and
yeah.
get it in our file for that subdivision.
We can do that.
Because even though it is private, every now and again, they call the city first.
I'm aware.
Most every time.
Yeah.
So if we still want them to involve you, but if we can help avoid a disaster, that's a good thing.
Very much so. With the abandoned water lines you mentioned on the sewer to cap it as close to the road or the back of the curb as possible. With the water lines, do you want us to cap them, or is it good to leave a
It would be better
valve on
to
that?
pothole the asphalt, even a small patch enough to go down and turn the cork stop to that saddle off and cut the pipe so it's no longer connected to the main.
Okay,
That's the wisest way to do it.
okay,
So there'd just be two of them.
just two of them,
That'd be the way to go.
unless you want me to run one of them into the sprinkler system so that we're using both of them.
If you wanna get another meter, that'd be.
Nope, master meter.
So if you're gonna utilize it for some landscaping thing, then by all means, let's keep it live, but
Okay. Perfect. That way it's just, if it's being used, it won't get lost.
you'll just wanna make sure you've got, valves on it so that you can winterize it and turn it off, isolate it, things like that.
Yep, for sure. That right now they stub past the valve, but we have the curb stops on them, so that are down below frost level.
So then just make sure you can keep all those accessible and mapped out so that in the winter you can find them and they don't get landscaped over.
For sure.
That's really common in HOAs.
Use the mic.
That's all I have about that. What is it, Forrest Gump?
It does. Okay, do you have any other questions, Jody?
No, do I stand here until you guys tell me if I'm able to do it?
You can sit down.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Rob, Max, do you have anything else?
No, I think it's,
No, nothing else for me.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion on this item.
I make a motion, we approve it as, well, I guess we don't have any conditions, do we?
No,
Okay,
well, we have that they have to still continue to meet the rules.
right. Nothing additional though.
Yes. Okay,
I'll second it.
so the motion is to approve. With the conditions listed in the staff report. No additional conditions. And that was made by Max Pierce, and the second is Rob Stapley. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voting unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
All
I'm actually
right.
curious to listen to the next one too, since I'm here.
Okay. You can be curious.
Uh,
Okay. Extension of time for completion. Do you want to come on up and introduce yourself for the record, and then you can either stand or sit, whichever you'd rather do.
Abel Porter, Junior. I'm just here representing the ownership of the Spring Creek Townhome project. So if you remember, we actually met 2.5 weeks ago-ish, and talked a little bit about the 6-month extension that we're applying for in order to complete the horizontal land improvements just down the road. And then we pushed it to this meeting so that we could collect a couple things. One of them was ownership records of the land to ensure that the former development entity is still owned by the same majority owner, which it is, and I have a couple documents I can share with you once we start discussion. The next was to get an approval from the ownership group about the bonded assurance in that 6-month time frame. I have an email from the majority owner or the owner of the property saying that's okay. And then the next was Scarlett actually shared with me the conditions that we must meet in order to complete that 6-month permit. And I have spoken to our partners and everyone feels good about it. So just a kind of a recap to refresh your guys' memory on what we talked about last time.
Okay. Dan, did you change anything on the staff report? No, just the
I
date.
don't think anything was changed.
All right, I didn't think so either, but I just wanted to check before we got clear into our discussion. So gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
We'll leave it off. It's helpful.
Well, I just want to clarify, if I understood you correctly, you're thinking that, and I want to make sure I understand the dates and everything correctly, but the ordinance says we can give a 6-month extension, is that right?
Yes,
And you're saying that you will be able to get it complete, those improvements done in those 6 months?
Correct. The timeline that I was given from our development partners was 4.5 months-ish, and they're chomping at the bit to start. They're actually gonna roll over a crew they have down the road into our development.
Okay,
anything else?
that seems really aggressive, but I'm just trying to digest all that. I mean, we're not typically seeing things done that quickly, so. I'm not saying it can't be done that quickly, I'm just saying that it makes me a little bit concerned, and I just wanna make sure that, I guess from my perspective, I wouldn't have a problem going longer than that, but I don't know if the ordinance allows for a second extension. What does the ordinance say about?
It doesn't allow for a second extension. I think in all fairness to the ordinance and fairness to you though, to try and get as much done as you can, and then come back and explain why you would need that second extension instead of us just kind of jumping to it right now. I
Correct,
think it's a better way to.
correct. And I think that's correct. And just as a comment on that, everything is done in good faith here. We're truly, as the owners of the land, have no interest in sitting on this any longer. And if this extension were not to go through, then you're looking at that lot being just completely empty for a much longer period of time. And that's not what we want. I don't think that's what the city of Providence wants. And so that's why we're excited. And just as a kind of a refresher also, the reason that we're here today and why I'm standing here in front of you today and not my dad is because of the health issues that he's still going through. And so he has never been able to pick up any of this. And that's why it's gotten extended and extended. And so at some point in the spring, he passed it to me and said, please start getting this. And that's when I think I called you, Scarlett, and it was like, oh, the extension, you need to do the extension now. And so I'm kind of picking this up on the fly, but over the past 2 weeks, we've got a much clearer picture.
Okay. You have any comments, Rob?
Well, related to that timeline of utilities, it's highly unlikely you're gonna meet that timeline. Like Max said, it's not impossible, but extremely unlikely. The amount of utilities and the amount of time you have and this late in the starting period of the season. And getting a contractor to really truly mobilize and put that much infrastructure in that fast is unreasonable. I mean,
I understand. I'm not a construction guy, and so I took our developer partners' words at face value, if you will. But I understand that, and again, we're looking to break ground this month before the end of June. Just there's no true wait period after this.
was there more question marks related to, I guess, the comparisons to the new ordinance versus the old, and how we want to even compare them, if that makes sense?
They're coming in under the old one. They've got their approved construction plans. They're coming in as long as they don't make changes. I did get a request today that asked about making some changes. Not from Abel, but from someone that you've been talking with. If that were the case, then I don't think the extension even comes into play, because then we'd
You
start
have to
over.
resubmit construction drawings and
Yeah.
everything, correct? And I don't know, and just as a comment on that, I don't know who called you, but I'm assuming that they are not the person that we're the most down the line in these development discussions with.
Good.
Just as a comment on that.
Well, you don't mind trying to help me understand what happened back in the day when it came to that second access, because I know that's Aaron Walker had a concern about that, and I look at a situation like this and I get concerned about that single access. And what the options are, if there are any still, to accomplish that, because I think that would be super beneficial, not just for parking and overall emergency access, but.
Correct. Aaron was the fire marshal that was here last meeting, right? So just from that meeting, what Aaron had said is it would be ideal if we had a second access. Those two access points, potential access points, there's one that is likely, which would be on the west side of our project. That old mill that will eventually be developed into some sort of commercial or whatever the zoning is now. That's the most likely access point right there. And that would be the connection point on the southwest side, southwest corner of our property, if I'm seeing the map in my head real quick. The secondary access point that we've had multiple discussions with was on the north side of our property with the office building that's adjacent to us. The south side, if you remember that plat, has that water area there, so there's no potential on the south side. And we've had initial discussions nothing concrete there, but I think the likely secondary access point would be on that west side.
So how wide is that if you have no offhand? Where the two dumpsters are going to take?
I don't know, I'd have to look up the plans, but
You pull those up, Ron, right?
You want to pull this up or you want?
I think I-
that was perfect. And you can kind of see that.
I was just gonna look at it.
You can kind of see how we designed for
just in between those two buildings there.
a future access point there.
This one's designed to come out. This one here
Yeah,
probably has to change somehow in order for it to come out.
I think that the thought there, yeah. If I remember correctly, there was the commercial building and it was gonna wrap around, but we're expecting that to be a secondary access. And in fact, again, this is going back about 18 months ago. But in the initial discussions with the fire department, I think we were planning to put temporary obstruction on that initially and get some sort of easement so that it could be a secondary outlet even now, just onto the dirt path for safety reasons. But it was still approved by the fire department as is.
You're talking about the west.
The west, yeah, correct,
Yeah.
sorry.
Any plans for these bottom two that are next to the movie theater?
We had initial plans for amenity space,
Okay.
common area amenity space. But the engineers didn't feel super comfortable putting some sort of pickleball courts or how we could arrange it all. So there's potential, but I don't believe we finalized it on our final plans just because of the engineers hesitancy to put something over there.
Was that, I don't remember if that was a requirement of this stage of mixed use.
We have amenity space, which can point in this corner, as well as this is amenity space, and I think a little bit of park just out here.
I do really think it would be beneficial. I know it would probably be, it'll take some time. And I don't remember exactly what the recent FEMA maps did to that area. Do you, Max?
We could pull it up, on the
red
county
area,
there, yeah.
But at a minimum, a walking path.
A bridge across.
Yeah, I think, and I understand why you would not want just the general public traveling through your private development, but your private development. I anticipate there'd be quite a few people that would rather walk across a path to get to those movie theaters. Or some of the other commercial area that's there, rather than have to get in their car, drive down the road, that type of thing, so.
But again, it was in our initial plans, and I believe there was some sort of reason that we didn't do it. So we can re-engage that. Would that trigger, any changes like that trigger any sort of updated drawings and or zoning issues with the committee?
You would have to go through stream alteration and whatnot, but, and we would have to see it, but it wouldn't cause us to start and do a whole do over.
Okay.
I really don't have anything else, and my computer,
And I don't know if you guys wanted to see these or not, but I can also share these with you.
I do need to have you submit copies though of that stuff, so we have it on hand.
Perfect. Or would you prefer email or paper? I could even just give you these. These are just printed copies of everything.
Either way,
Okay.
it's fine. Electronic is always nice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'd rather carry around this than these.
But speaking of electronic, my laptop, I had the IT guy working on it this morning and we thought it was all done doing its thing and it's not. So it's turned itself up to do more updating. So.
It always does it at the perfect time. The perfect time always.
You won't get the paper doing that to you, Scarlett.
No.
I like the paper myself.
That's true. There's times when the paper comes in really handy. Probably they'll leave your paper copies with me just because And then, well, let's wait and see how this motion goes first.
Okay.
So, is there any more discussion on, from this board, the commission? Okay, any more discussion from the staff?
I particularly like the new ordinance and I would love to see it built that way. I don't know that that's always a negative, although I realize you have it under this one, it's permitted and designed. But there is a lot of benefit and if you can get the extra access, you know, that is a very nice piece of property to be truly mixed use.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So if they don't approve, I do think rather than bag it forever, there's really good chance to have a very good mixed use product here.
And again, I don't think bag it forever is the idea, but I just think that economically and financially, it's probably best we just sit on it, but I do believe that, and to your point, potentially the partners we're working with are looking at this west side land and hopefully can create a true mixed use. We'll see where that ends up with those discussions, but I work in development and mixed use myself, and I agree.
I
We
go
need
to the
some
movie
awesome
theater all the
mixed
time.
use.
I'd love to
developments.
see more commercial around the movie theater if it would work out that way. And I think the new ordinance, if you had commercial down on those two pieces that are there, that you're not doing much on now. But I mean, I know wetlands covers one of them, but there's still probably quite a bit of place to put commercial and your percentages probably could be met. And that, so anyway, I just talked for the new ordinance that's the one we have. We had a few come in at this ordinance and then none of those actually ended up being, this will be the first one to be under this ordinance and it's unfortunate it's, you know, it's on an extension rather than built, but the other ones that came in later all came in under the updated ordinance that the other two that we have, so anyway, but that's where I'm at.
That said, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve it, with the conditions shown on the report.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So Max Pierce made the motion to approve with the conditions. Rob Stapley seconded. Before we vote, I kind of echo Ryan's thoughts. I really kind of feel like as you may want to really look at it, we allow higher density in the new mixed use. But the percentages are a little different. But even without the property to the west, if you could take advantage somewhat to the property you own on the south side of the creek,
Totally.
just because it's on the south side of the creek doesn't mean it can't be incorporated into your design work. So it may actually behoove you in the long run to rethink some of that.
Absolutely.
But for right now,
Let me ask a question real quick, Scarlett, though, is this approval, I mean, the way he's already got it approved, does that preclude him from coming back and doing something with the property on the south side?
no, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier, right? Is that we can still add spaces like that.
That's what I was gonna say, for right now, to get the infrastructure started and get things going. I am going to vote in favor of the extension. I don't know how Rob or Max will vote, but I really would strongly encourage you to look at our new code and see if it wouldn't make more sense for you.
Absolutely.
With the increased density and especially if you really are, the problem that we have is the property to the west is Logan City. And their codes are a little bit different than ours. And I think we work well as pretty good neighbors. But we do have an example, unfortunately, just down the street to the west. Where Logan was going to work with us and make sure they kept an access open and doesn't look like it's gonna go that direction anymore, so. So it's hard hard for me personally to feel comfortable pinning anything going into another municipality. Not that they're not great neighbors, but you just never know what their rules will be at the time. But anyway, I would encourage you to really look at our new ordinance and see if there's some modifications that can be made as you do.
Yeah, actually looking at this now, I have a couple ideas and I think we should explore them.
But I don't wanna hold the whole thing up in case those don't pan out. I really do wanna see that property get developed and work to the very best for both the city and the people that are gonna live there. So, I would entertain, we have a motion, as I said, by Max Pearson, a second by Rob Stapley. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to call for nay, and you nay.
He's just too excited.
So,
No, I just really think the new ordinance makes a lot of sense, as I looked into that deeper. The planning commission put a lot of effort towards, revising that ordinance. And I think, there's reasons for it.
Fair, I understand.
okay, motion does carry though, we have 2 yeas.
Thank you very much, committee. Would you like these now or after the meeting?
Why don't you leave them with us? If you've got them, leave them with us and.
Deed, and then the 2 operating agreements.
Perfect.
Corporate and, property.
Thank you.
Now, I know that we had a pre-construction meeting prior or after the first one was approved. But before you start doing anything, you need to call us and get another one scheduled so that we are working with your new
Absolutely.
contractor and these guys know.
Is your contractor LeGrand?
Absolutely. On the ground.
LeGrand?
Oh, the Grand?
Yeah, that's who it was prior, but.
No, not right now. It's not the Grand. I think prior was it Bonneville? No. Bonneville
I
Construction.
think it was
They might have been the
Bonneville and then
general,
had
but-
sub.
LeGrand was
They
the sub
subbed
for the underground,
LeGrand.
put all those parts there.
Most likely will be Bonneville, our former. Thank you.
Thank you.
That ends our agenda items. Unless there's something that anybody from the audience wants to bring up that we should consider for a future agenda. Going once, going twice.
I think we should have the applicants always bring donuts.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Put that on the
We'll
agenda.
put a donut shop on the commercial piece and I'll bring it.
Go for that.
Would be a good little plan.
There you go.
It would do really well.
Anyway, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion by Rob Stapley, second by Max Pierce, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
This meeting is at about 4:40.